Nana Shastra Vicharanaika Nipuno Saddharma Samstapako Lokanam Hitakarino Tribhuvane Manyo Saranya Karo Radha Krishna Padaravinda Bhajana Nandena Mataliko Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghuyugo Shri Jiva Gopalako Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghuyugo Shri Jiva Gopalako. And the translation. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the six Goswamis, namely Shri Rupa Goswami, Shri Sanatan Goswami, Shri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Shri Raghunath Das Goswami, Shri Jiva Goswami, and Shri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, who are very expert in scrutinizingly studying all the revealed scriptures with the aim of establishing eternal religious principles for the benefit of all human beings. Thus, they are honored all over the three worlds and they are worth taking shelter of because they are absorbed in the mood of the gopis and are engaged in the transcendental loving service of Radha and Krishna. Srila Rupa Goswami Pranam Mantra. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam. Translation. When will Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, who was established within this material world the mission to fulfill the desire of Lord Chaitanya, give me shelter under his lotus feet? Excuse me. So in text number 1, we have covered how to recognize a qualified spiritual master. In text number 2, we have learned how to prevent spiritual fall downs by the support and shelter of a bona fide spiritual master. And in text number 3, we have learned how to make spiritual advancement. Text number 4, we have discussed yesterday how to experience love amongst devotees. And today is the most important text, number 5, which indicates how to associate with devotees from the perspective of a Madhyam Adhikari. That means an intermediate devotee, not a beginning devotee as a neophyte. So this is most important. So we're going to read from text number 5. And before that, we can say the invocation for the text. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So text number 5 in the text itself. The translation and the purport is by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Brhat Swami and Srila Prabhupada. It's a beautiful text. Krishneti yasya giritam manasadriyeta Dikshasti chet pranatibis cha bhajantamesham sushrusaya bhajana vigyam ananyam anyam nindadi sunyaridam ipshit sangalabdya. And the translation by Srila Prabhupada. One should mentally honor the devotee who chants the holy name of Lord Krishna. One should offer humble obeisances to the devotee who has undergone spiritual initiation, Diksha, and is engaged in worshipping the deity. And one should associate with and faithfully serve that pure devotee who is advanced in undeviated devotional service and whose heart is completely devoid of the propensity to criticize others. So, in relation to the purport itself, in the first several lines, in order to intelligently apply the 6 loving reciprocations mentioned in the previous verse, that means the dati pratigri nati guyam akyati prichati bhungte bhojayate cheva sadvidi priti lakshana. In other words, one should, in other words, in text number 4, one should offer gifts in charity, the dati pratigrinati, and also accept charitable gifts. Goyam akyati prichati, revealing one's mind and confidence and inquiring confidentially. And bhungte bhojayate cheva, accepting prasad and offering prasad. These 6 items are of love shared by one devotee with another. So in order to apply that intelligently, in this beginning of the purport, Prabhupada says one must select proper persons with careful discrimination. And I'm reading on in the beginning of the purport, paragraph 1. Srila Rupa Goswami therefore advises that one should meet with the Vaishnavas in an appropriate way according to their particular status. Now, in relation to this, if you go to the last 3 lines of the previous verse in its purport, the last, you could say, paragraph, which is only 3 lines. I'm reading. In the next verse, which is this text 5, from text 4, Srila Rupa Goswami informs us what kind of Vaishnava should be selected as a friend and how Vaishnavas should be served. And then one final thing about text number 5, which is in paragraph number 4 in the purport. It's the first line, it's the first sentence in 3 lines. This is the way to cultivate devotional service properly. Therefore, in this verse, Srila Rupa Goswami has advised us how to treat various devotees. Omajnana timirandasya gyananjana shalakaya chakshurun militam yena tasmai shri guruve namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanabhyo Vaishnavabhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakti Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So in these 3 several separate places I have read about this verse as an introduction. And one is that Rupa Goswami is advised how to treat various devotees. And then Srila Prabhupada says in the beginning of the purport that we should select proper persons with careful discrimination of how we meet various Vaishnavas according to their particular status. And the third aspect is that how should we select amongst various Vaishnavas a friend, and how other Vaishnavas who are not friends should also be served. So these are important aspects in this text, number 5. Now, I'm going to discuss the entire text and the entire purport one after another, because it flows like that, one after another. And then at the end, I may take some questions. Why? Because of 2 reasons. One is because these discussions may affect one personally in relation to being initiated devotees. And number 2 is that you may have a question in the process of the discussion, but in the process of the discussion, that question may be answered as we unfold one item of discussion into the next one. So if you do have some questions, then you can probably note them down, but at the same time, that question may be answered further in the discussion, that is, as it flows. So these are the 2 main reasons. Okay. So we'll begin now in terms of the actual discussion of the verse and the purport. And there'll be references to the purport as we go along also. Now, to put things into context, Srila Prabhupada is the founder Acharya. He could do things what no one else did or could have done even in the future or even in the present. See? So therefore, in the formative years of beginning the Krishna consciousness movement or ISKCON, Prabhupada had to do certain things. That's how you begin a movement. But then in the stages of the movement, when it was completely, you could say, established, and Prabhupada did things also differently. So let's discuss and view the very first initiation ceremony, which you will also find in the Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita in chapter 19, where it says planting the seed. And that first initiation ceremony that happened on Janmashtami day, which was 8th of September in 1966. So at that time, no one was asked by Srila Prabhupada, known as Swamiji at that time, to either shave their head or even cut their hair short or even change their dress. See? And no one really knew that after the initiation, one should offer the spiritual master some Guru Dakshina, like a donation that the disciple is supposed to offer as a kind gesture, in terms of being obligated to the spiritual master. So they didn't even know about Guru Dakshina. See? And hardly anyone even knew, how to serve the spiritual master. Because Srila Prabhupada, as Swamiji himself, he did practically all the cooking and he did all the preparations even for the initiation itself. See? Why? Because Srila Prabhupada as Swamiji was perfectly aware, of the consciousness of these very first initiates. He didn't try to force anything on anyone, including at that time. He didn't even tell them the rules and regulations of how to serve and how to respect a spiritual master. And even some of the initiates, believe it or not, even before the initiation, they did not really inquire, about the 4 rules, which is no meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling, and no illicit sex life, which they were all breaking in a sense, but they didn't even know that they have to follow these rules. See? And it was mandatory, for all disciples. So Prabhupada, he simply, at that first initiation ceremony, he said that, and I'm very glad that you're finally asking me what this initiation ceremony is about. Just before the initiation. So Srila Prabhupada said, there'll be a Vedic sacrifice, a live one. It means like a fire sacrifice right there in the front room of Swamiji's apartment, not in the 26 Second Avenue temple, but if you go to the inner courtyard and you go into the first floor, that's where Srila Prabhupada lived. He didn't want to do it down first because it'll alarm the public. So these 11 initiates, they took up most of the remaining space in that front room as they sat on the floor, knee to knee, just around the sacrificial arena. And the guests in the hallway, they sort of peered curiously, through like the open door. But for everyone except Swamiji, this was all very new and very strange. And every step of the ceremony took place under his direction. And when some of the boys, you could say in that sense, young adults, they even made a mess of trying to apply the tilak to their foreheads. They couldn't even know how to apply tilak. And then Prabhupada had patiently guided them with his own finger on their foreheads and making a neat, narrow sort of V and, the lotus of the tilak below that onto their noses. So these are just a few items of understanding of the very first initiation ceremony, which is not the case today. Even in the mid to late 70s with Srila Prabhupada, or most of the 70s, and even after that when Srila Prabhupada left, it's quite different now. They didn't know what they were getting into. They really didn't know what they were getting. So Prabhupada took that kind of risk that, some may stay, some may even leave. He took that risk because he was forming, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Now let's get to slide number 53 and Prabhupada have us understand what is the meaning of actual initiation. It's in your purport actually. It's in your purport in paragraph 7. But let's see what Prabhupada says here. Spiritual initiation. Diksha or spiritual initiation is explained in the Bhakti Sandarbha 868 by Srila Jiva Goswami. Divyam Jnanam Yato Dadyat Kuryat Papasya Samshayam Tasmat Diksheti Sa Prokta Deshikaistatva Ko Vidai. And the translation by Srila Prabhupada. By Diksha, one gradually becomes disinterested in material enjoyment and gradually becomes interested in spiritual life. It's a very important understanding. In other words, out of all the verses in relation to Diksha or spiritual initiation in the entire scriptures, Srila Prabhupada chose this verse for this particular purport. So that means he chose the most appropriate verse that explains Diksha or spiritual initiation. And what does it mean? You could see that. It is a continuous process, Diksha, to be disinterested in material enjoyment and gradually become interested in spiritual life. It may take a lifetime or many lifetimes in that sense. Okay. So now let's discuss what Prabhupada actually means by this from other lectures of Srila Prabhupada. So let's get to slide number 54. And it tells you more what is actually initiation. But he says it a little differently here, Srila Prabhupada. Here Srila Prabhupada said initiation is just a formality. Srila Prabhupada said, well, initiation or no initiation. In other words, he didn't give it an importance. He said, first thing is knowledge. First thing is knowing what is spiritual life. And then Prabhupada says, initiation is formality. Just like you go to a school for knowledge, and admission is formality. That is not a very important thing. It is not a very important thing. In other words, the initiation may be there as one ceremony. You can put me back into the screen. Initiation may be there as like a ceremony for an hour or so. But that is just a formality. But actual initiation means that you're going to go through school for more and more knowledge. That's, from one stage to another, from one form to another, from one standard to another, right until you complete school in your 12th or 13th. That's a whole process. So initiation is that. See? Then Prabhupada says something else about this. In slide number 55. Let's get to the next slide. Beautifully said by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada said, if you are serious, that is real initiation. It's not just a formality. Srila Prabhupada, you'll be initiated, any one of you, when you agree to follow the regulative principles and you are recommended by our men, then you can also be initiated. And again, Prabhupada says, initiation is a formality. Just like an admission form to school. First of all, you have to decide whether you will abide by the rules and regulations and become Krishna conscious. That is your consideration. You have to decide for yourself whether you are going to take this Krishna consciousness seriously. That is your decision. Initiation is a formality. If you are serious, that is real initiation. If you have understood this Krishna philosophy and if you have decided that you will take Krishna consciousness seriously and preach the philosophy to others, that is your initiation. My touch is simply a formality. That my touch means, and what are the 4 regulative principles and how many rounds you promise to chant daily, and this is your name. So that is Prabhupada's touch. My touch is simply a formality. It is your determination, which is more important. That is initiation. That is initiation. So Srila Prabhupada is very, very clear here. Very clear in that sense. All right. So we can take some questions now based on what we just discussed about, actual initiation, as Prabhupada told us. And then we will continue further with the different levels of the members of the Krishna conscious movement and how to relate to each other. You have any questions? Anyone?
So far, no, Maharaj.
Okay. So we'll go to slide number 56. And now we're discussing different types of persons and devotees within ISKCON, or the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So in paragraph 4, Srila Prabhupada defined what is a Prakrita Sahaja. The Prakrita Sahajas generally chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, yet they are attached to women, money, and intoxication. Although such persons may chant the holy name of the Lord, they are not yet properly purified. Such people should be respected within one's mind, but the association should be avoided. This comes from paragraph 4. Put me back into the screen. Now you get such type of persons who are not following the regulative principles, but they do sometimes chant the holy name. And Prabhupada said, they could be considered connected to us, but we should respect them within the mind, but we should not intimately take the association. Because we may fall trapped to also being attached to women, money, and intoxication, as Prabhupada says in the purport. So not taking association. Now, why do we respect these Prakrita Sahajas? Prakrita means materialistic, and Sahaja means they are not seriously following the regulative principles, and neither are they chanting minimum 16 rounds daily, but they're somewhat favorable to us. Now, to describe them, I'll give you two examples. One is that you may know a person may come to the temple, and then he brings his bead bag at that time and also chants with the devotees. But you also know that he has come with a girlfriend, a lady, and he's not married to her. Then the following month, you may see him again in the temple. And he's coming with another lady girlfriend. And then you know he's not following the regulative principle. But he's very favorable. He's very favorable. That type of persons we're talking about. Now, sometimes you may get donors, including life members, and you know they may be not even serious devotees. They may be eating meat even. But they're just big people in the material world who have money. So you're trying to interest him to become a life member. So Prabhupada says that we should respect them within the mind, but association should be avoided. So we should give association to engage them in devotional service by them contributing some donation. So that's another example. Now, why do we respect such prakrita sahajas? That means materialistic persons who may take things cheaply but do not really practice seriously. So there are, you could say, 6 ways why we respect them. One is that they are not Mayavadis, so we respect them. 2 is that they are not atheists, and we respect them. And 3 is that they are not pretenders. In other words, they are not showing you one thing and there's something else. They're saying, look, this is me. I'm attached to women. I'm attached to intoxication and even money, but this is me. Accept me as I am. So they're not pretenders. And number 4 is they're not demigod worshippers. And number 5, which is most important, they're not really offensive to devotees. They like to help devotees and like to serve devotees, and probably they like to serve most by offering some financial assistance. And then the 6th one is that is that they have faith Krishna's to Bhagavan Swayam. They only like to worship Krishna and serve Krishna's devotees. So they have faith that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And therefore, sometimes Srila Prabhupada will say in general that we have many, many Krishna bhaktas in India like this, that they worship Krishna from birth, but they may not be exactly following the 4 regulative principles. So that's called Prakriti Sahaja. And do you have any questions on this Prakriti Sahajas? In other words, those who are materialistic, but they are connected, favorable, but at the same time they may be practicing devotees. Any questions?
Radhika Mataji has a question.
Radhika, come onto the screen.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Am I audible?
Yes, I can hear you. Tell me your question, and I can see you too.
Okay. Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Guru Maharaj, all glories to Prabhupada. Maharaj, my question is that as you mentioned that during the initiation ceremony, we have the initiation where we take the oaths in front of the fire, and we mentioned the 4 regulative principles. Maharaj, my question is, the 4 regulative principles have extended regulations also. For example, in no meat eating, we have the extended regulation of no onions and garlics, and in no intoxication, we have the extended implication of probably something like not even cocoa or no excess of sugar also, which can be intoxicating. So I wanted to understand the how important are the extended regulations and the main mentioned four regulations.
Well, it's very simple that no intoxication indicates anything that makes you intoxicated, which is tea, that is caffeine in it and cocoa in it. That's simple. And with the no meat eating, we're very clear that we should not take onions and garlic. That's very clear because it is an intoxicant also in a sense. And people become addicted to it, to the taste of it. But it is used in a medicinal way by Ayurvedic physicians. Just for example, a devotee does not take any drugs. A devotee does not take any drugs. But a devotee may take some drugs as a medicine when the body gets sick. He may take some aspirin or some, medicine that is recommended by the doctor to get better because the body is sick and the body needs to get better. So you take those type of drugs temporarily until the body is cured or healed. Then you go on with your normal life again in terms of being a devotee. But it doesn't mean that, that when you are sick and then you take a drug and then you feel better, but after you feel better, you're continuing taking the drugs, it'll have some adverse effect. See? So we're not taking drugs every day, but the doctor may prescribe some medicine that's called a drug that you take temporarily to actually cure the body. So similarly with onions and garlic, it's a type of intoxication. It's like a drug. But if you feel good in taking it every day, then you become attached to such a thing. But it is actually medicinal. It is medicinal use in Ayurvedic preparations. When the body needs it to get cured from its sickness, then you don't no more take that, which includes onions and garlic. Radhika, is that okay? Radhika? Good?
Yes, Maharaj. Yes, Maharaj. That is okay. Thank you so much. I just wanted to ask one more thing, if that's okay.
Come onto the screen. Tell me.
Okay. Maharaj, I wanted to ask that as mentioned, and you mentioned in two slides where Prabhupada said that initiation is just a ceremony, I
Formality.
mean, yes, a formality. So, but at the same time, initiation does have a significance as well. And I just wanted to understand that when we say initiation is just a formality, and since Prabhupada said that if you are serious and if you're following the scriptures and the regulations, then you are initiated. But
Yeah, that is
how?
real.
Yes, Maharaj.
Prabhupada said that is real initiation. Prabhupada says that.
But in
That
what sense? Because
when you are seriously following the four regulative principle and chanting minimum 16, Prabhupada said that is real initiation.
real initiation in what sense, Maharaj? I mean, in the sense of starting the process
Okay.
seriously.
Okay. Good. That's your question. I wanted to understand your question. That's why I said that. So now I understand your question. Okay. We may be discussing that actually later on also, what real initiation means. We'll be discussing it in relation to this text. That's what real initiation means. So, that will come as we formatively discuss further aspects of different levels of devotees. And your question will be answered either today within this text 5, and if we don't complete text 5, we'll continue tomorrow, the same text, because it's a very important text. Okay? So, however, let me explain a little bit now in that what is actual real initiation. Okay? So, real initiation indicates not a formality. In other words, when you were following the four regulative principles before that formality of that fire ceremony, as well as taking the vows, you've already been doing that before that, right? So that means you are already practicing as a real initiated devotee before the formality of the initiation. You already initiated in the sense because you are serious before the initiation. Now, in contrast to that, or contrary to that, what is the value of being initiated and then after initiated you don't follow? Are you really initiated? You're not. Although you maybe formally have taken that formality of the name and taken the vows, but after initiation, you are breaking the four regulative principles and not chanting your minimum 16 rounds. That means you're not serious. Not serious. And we're going to discuss this later on, what Srila Prabhupada says about that, and what Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says about it. So we cannot really just fool around, and take some initiation as a matter of fashion, and use the guru as your dustbin, where you throw all your rubbish of your sinful activities after initiation. That's not very nice at all. That's not being grateful to the spiritual master, both instructing spiritual master and the initiating spiritual master, that you treat him that now you suffer my breaking the regulative principles after initiation, and suffer also because I'm not chanting my 16 rounds much. That's not a very nice thing. So Prabhupada is very careful here when he says such things. He's very clear about this. Is that all right, Radhika? And I'm also very firm on this when discussing it also. Because, the spiritual master is Shakshad Harit Vena Nasa Masa Sastri. Spiritual master is the supreme personality of Sarvita Godhead. It has to be taken very, very seriously. Including one's Shiksha gurus, including one's persons who helped you as spiritual mentors even before the initiation. And even after the initiation, they continue to help you. What to speak of the Diksha Guru? Everyone is important who's helping you in spiritual life. But I'm glad you asked it now. But it will be discussed later on, even in terms of this. I have my notes for that from Srila Prabhupada, and we take it further. Thank you, Radhika. Wonderful. Thank you very much. Yeah. Any questions on this basis of the Prakriti Sahajas and which I discussed, or we can move on? I need to know.
There's a question from a devotee named Pragati.
Pragati. I know Pragati. Pragati, come onto the screen. Pragati, you have to unmute yourself and start speaking, then you'll come onto the screen.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, it's Sumant. Can you hear me?
Yes, Sumant is using his wife's connection.
As always.
Okay. Tell me.
I don't have a question. It was just a comment. I just wanted to thank you for answering the initiation question and your comments there. They're so valuable for all of us. I think they're very insightful. I thank you so much for it.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Okay. I want to give one more example in relation to Sumant's comment as well as Radhika's important questions. Srila Prabhupada, he had a disciple who was not initiated by him. And Srila Prabhupada said, and guaranteed him before Srila Prabhupada left this planet that he'll go back to the spiritual world. And his name is Shriman P.L. Sethi from Mumbai. Those who are listening in from Mumbai know this well. See? Shriman P.L. Sethi, he never took formal initiation, as Prabhupada says, a formality. But he was a surrendered personality to Srila Prabhupada. Very much surrendered. In fact, in the Juhu project of Shri Shri Radha Rasa Bihari Temple, he added one more floor to the tenement buildings on the boundary wall at that time. Now it's no more there, but he built, one more floor on each of those tenement buildings, and he also built Srila Prabhupada's quarters there. See, so Srila Prabhupada was so pleased with him, Sriman P.L. Sethi, and he didn't really give him formal initiation. And I heard from different devotees, Srila Prabhupada said, you don't need to be initiated, you're already my disciple. See, but because of your service to my disciples. See? And Srila Prabhupada said, just as you're building these rooms here and extending it into the second floor, from ground first to second floor for my disciples, Krishna is similarly building your room in Goloka Vrindavan for you to come. So I just thought I'll give that example of Sriman P.L. Sethi. He was a construction man, and he really helped Srila Prabhupada, really helped the devotees. And His Holiness Bhakti Swami has probably put this in great detail in his book called, titled, what Prabhupada said, I'll build your temple, and then dash the Juhu story, which will be released shortly, probably by this year. So he gives much details about this glorious personality, Sriman P.L. Sethi. I can go on speaking more about him and also his family members. He's late now, but you can read it more in that book. So he wasn't formally initiated, but he was a disciple of Srila Prabhupada. Just to say that for now. Okay, should I move along? If there's no other questions for now.
Maharaj, Advaita Krishna Prabhu has raised his hand.
Advaita Krishna Prabhu, please come onto the screen. Hare Krishna. You can unmute yourself.
It's my humble present.
Advaita
Can you
Prabhu,
hear me?
were you with us yesterday also? No.
Yes, Maharaj, I've been there.
Okay, good. Go ahead with your question.
So, Maharaj, I just wanted to understand, you mentioned just now that a spiritual master instructing or initiating has to suffer in case after initiation someone makes offenses.
I cannot hear you because your connection is going a little bit low. But did you say something like after initiation, if the disciple doesn't follow properly, something like that?
Yes, Maharaj. What I heard was that a spiritual master instructing or initiating has to suffer in case after initiation is not following the rules and regulations or making offenses. So
Yes,
I'd just
it is
like
not
to understand that.
just the initiating guru. It is not just the initiating guru. If you want to, is that your type of question you're asking?
Yes, Maharaj.
Yes, now let me explain. Within our disciplic succession, the Diksha Guru of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is Bipin Bihari Goswami. But on our altar, we have the photo of Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj. Are you aware of this, right? Advaita Prabhu? Can you hear me, Advaita?
Yes, Maharaj.
Good. So now, this is one example that the Diksha Guru is less prominent for Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, but his principal Shiksha Guru is more prominent, which is Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj. And that's the photo we put on the altar, actually. And then you take it further on. Like that. Gaur-Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj is well known to have been initiated as a Babaji by a Babaji. However, that initiation is not well known. But his Shiksha Guru is Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, whose Shiksha Guru is Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj. In other words, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is not the Diksha Guru of Gaur-Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is the Shiksha Guru, who was more prominent, in the spiritual life of or connection to Gokishadas Babaji Maharaj. However, after that, the only disciple of Gokishadas Babaji Maharaj was initiated was Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So Gokishadas Babaji Maharaj is the Diksha Guru, initiating Guru of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's principal Shiksha Guru is his own father, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And then we got His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. See? So now, in ISKCON during Srila Prabhupada's time, the principal Diksha Guru, as well as the principal Shiksha Guru for everyone, is our Srila Prabhupada, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, whose Diksha Guru is Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So now, how did Srila Prabhupada manage this movement and manage initiations? How did he do this? Those who were being initiated in ISKCON during Srila Prabhupada's time was like recommended by the temple president, mainly. Not by the GBCs, but mainly by the temple president. Because anyone who wanted to be a practicing devotee must move into the temple. And moving into the temple means that they have jurisdiction over the devotees who are staying there and know exactly what they're doing. So there was not much sort of risk in recommending somebody at that time, because they were living in the temple, following the 4 principles and chanting minimum 16 rounds. And then Srila Prabhupada gave them the formality of initiation. However, everyone had a connection with Srila Prabhupada through the morning Srimad Bhagavatam class with others, but reading from Prabhupada's translations and Prabhupada's books. See? So both are equally important. Both are equally important. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the first chapter, in the Adi Lila, it says very clearly that the instructing as well as the initiating spiritual master are both important. So therefore, you will find, just as Srila Prabhupada had more close connection through letters and through the management of the movement with something like 300 some odd devotees, not with like specifically the 4,000 that is initiated. So in the same way, the Diksha Guru may be currently initiating like that, but he may not know clearly that close connection with many of his or her disciples. See? And those Shiksha Gurus are really the ones that actually help the disciples to move forward in spiritual life. But they are always informing the Diksha Guru, what's going on. And as a result of their recommendation as temple presidents or as Namahata leaders or as a center leader, that's not a fully fledged temple, then the Diksha Guru initiates. So, how can I say, when I was a temple president, say in Krishna Balaram Mandir or in Durban, how can I say that I just recommended, this person to be initiated? And now, since you have formally initiated out of formality, as Prabhupada used, now it's your problem if they follow or not. That's not practical. It's not practical at all. And that's there in relation to Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj, in relation to Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in relation to Gokisha Das Babaji Maharaj, and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta and Srila Prabhupada. And that's how Srila Prabhupada expanded this movement and extend. And that's what currently our initiating gurus are doing now. But also there's a kind of shift now within ISKCON also, because we cannot really imitate Srila Prabhupada, by taking an X number of disciples. And even the full GBC body right now is focusing, initiating gurus in current and also in the future should be restricted to a particular area where they can take care of the disciples properly. Even that is being, highly recommended by the GBC body. And let the initiating gurus be many, 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 and let them be locally situated so they can take care of their children, spiritual children. That's also recommended right now. So the movement is being progressive during Srila Prabhupada's time as one particular initiating guru and instructing guru. Then it's progressive to many initiating gurus, and now it's going to be progressive even more, that there should be more and more initiating gurus that are localized, that they can take care of the disciples directly. That's also there. It's actually a big move in that direction, which is actually a very positive thing, within the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Is that all right, Advaita Krishna Prabhu?
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you. Thank you so much.
In that sense, where the initiating guru is localized, then there's less chance of a disciple being less accountable, but more accountable and become more serious.
True.
Because it's practically living in the same vicinity of the initiating guru. That means, oh, okay, I have to really be serious. My Guru Maharaj is always around here. And that's good, that people seriously, follow the 4 regulative principles and minimum 16 rounds. Otherwise, we may get a situation which Prabhupada took the risk just to expand the movement, but now he wants quality. Srila Prabhupada said that in many letters. Boil the milk. Boil the milk. That means get serious like that. Otherwise, now, we have thousands of devotees who are initiated. Fine. But who's to know that a devotee in Timbuktu or in Iceland or some place remotely who's initiated, who's to know that whether they're actually following nicely? It's very difficult. So therefore, the GBC body has seen this, has taken it very seriously. That the more localized the initiating guru is, in fact, the GBC body is also localizing areas for GBC members themselves. That you take a certain area now, they're changing that, which is a very nice thing, even for GBC members themselves. That they do not need to travel and move so much from one end of the world to another just for the GBC duties. So that's also a very important move for our movement worldwide and within the GBC body. Okay, but we'll discuss this more later. But probably this discussion is going to take more shape tomorrow when we continue with text number 5. But for today, we'll move on now, unless there's no further questions for now.
Maharaj, there's a question from 2 devotees. First one is
Okay, let's take that.
okay. First is Vaishnav Kripa Prabhu.
Okay, Vaishnav Kripa, come onto the screen.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances.
Okay, Vaishnav Kripa Prabhu, I remember your 50% at least yesterday.
Yeah, Maharaj.
Nice. Tell me your question.
Maharaj, you were just telling about this hygias, the Prakriti's hygias. You seem to give them a lot of respect, at least by heart. You must honor them, you must respect them. What should our attitude be towards the Ritviks, Maharaj?
What is Ritvik? I don't know.
I'm sure you know, Maharaj. What should our attitude be? Because they came to collect some money, but then when I told
Hold on a second.
Maharaj,
Don't talk about them, just give me the principle. What is Ritvik? You tell me.
they don't follow the parampara system, Maharaj.
No. You're talking, you have to respect people in their absence. They are nice people.
Yeah, Maharaj.
Yeah, but don't say they came for donation and they, not following the parampara.
Yes, I'm sorry, Maharaj.
Tell me your definition of Ritvik. My question was that. Tell me.
They don't accept a spiritual master except Srila Prabhupada.
Okay, fine. So that's what your definition of Ritvik.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Now the GBC body also has given statements to that regard, that we accept Srila Prabhupada as the ultimate Shiksha Guru for everyone. As well as Srila Prabhupada has been a Diksha Guru, as an initiating spiritual master for 4,000 some odd disciples worldwide. So that part we do accept, that Srila Prabhupada is the ultimate Shiksha Guru for everyone. And this is discussed very elaborately in a course called the ISKCON Disciples course for those who want to take initiation. It's nicely discussed. So partly we can agree that Srila Prabhupada is the ultimate Shiksha Guru for everybody. So that means he's the ultimate Guru for everyone. Right? However, Srila Prabhupada also has associates. Associates means, just as Krishna is not alone, Srila Prabhupada is not alone. See? So the continuance of initiation in ISKCON is the continuance of those disciples of Srila Prabhupada who do the service of initiating Guru. But they themselves know that they are not an initiating Guru, because an initiating Guru is seen as an initiating Guru by their disciples. Like you see your Guru Maharaj as my Guru, right? But they themselves don't see themselves as a Guru. They see themselves as a servant of Srila Prabhupada. See? But that's not Ritvik. That is, you are becoming the servant of the servant of the servant of Srila Prabhupada. So that's another clear understanding we should know. Now the third thing is that, which I'm going to discuss here actually when we come to Uttama Adhikari later on, but I'll answer your question now. And in the sense that Srila Prabhupada has given us a process to follow from sadhana bhakti to bhava bhakti to prema bhakti. Now, is Srila Prabhupada so miserly, in other words, that he kept the whole process of devotional service just for himself? No. Srila Prabhupada gave us the process fully to develop full Krishna prema. See? So in other words, Srila Prabhupada is not miserly or useless in the sense that he cannot create others in our movement that are Uttama Adhikaris, that are like highly elevated devotees. So that means Srila Prabhupada is so magnanimous that when he gave us the process of Krishna consciousness, he gave us everything. There's nothing that he kept for himself. So within the process and his purports that we follow, he has created so many pure devotees who are Uttama Adhikaris, they can act as initiating gurus or instructing gurus. So in other words, if Srila Prabhupada is the only Uttama Adhikari in ISKCON, that means he has given us a process that keeps him exclusive for that? No. He has given us the full process to become highly advanced devotees, which is going to be discussed also in this text. Actually, when we discuss it, we'll discuss it by tomorrow or so, because I'm getting a lot of questions right in the introduction of this text. See? So therefore, it's like this. And I'll give you one more example. Like that. Srila Prabhupada's reading of Srila Prabhupada's books and accepting Srila Prabhupada as the only, you could say, ultimate guru for everyone is fine. But also, we should know that Srila Prabhupada said, studying my books is not sufficient. So there are two things. One is called the book Bhagavat. Book Bhagavat means the Bhagavad Gita, the Srimad Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam, and the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and other books given by Srila Prabhupada's translations and purports. Then you get the person Bhagavat. So the person Bhagavat is living the book Bhagavat. Now, is Srila Prabhupada the only person that's living the books? The answer is an emphatic no. Because Srila Prabhupada has given us his books to create other person Bhagavats. See? Who follow nicely, which will be discussed later. So Srila Prabhupada said, it is not sufficient to just to read and study my books. But you also should preach my, you should understand my purports and preach my purports in your own words, to advance in Krishna consciousness. So those who are preachers of the Krishna consciousness movement, a very important aspect here. Okay. They are living the books. Otherwise, how will they have the potency to preach and make others devotees? Because they must be living the books. And you have that potency. to change others to become devotees. So Srila Prabhupada said that when you read and study my books, it is like the book is in front of you and you are looking at the book. So that's the book Bhagavat. But people need role models who are living the books, who are called in instructing spiritual masters and initiating spiritual masters, or senior devotees or your spiritual mentors, like in a Namahata or Bhakti Vriksha place. They're meant to be practicing better than you do. And you see that the way they're practicing, they are living the books. So Srila Prabhupada said, out of the two, the book itself and the person who's living the books, which is called the person Bhagavat, the person Bhagavat is more important, who's living the books. And Srila Prabhupada gave the example why. And Srila Prabhupada said that the book Bhagavat is important, but more important is the person who's living the book, the person Bhagavat. And the person Bhagavat means the book Bhagavat cannot twist your ear, the book. But the person Bhagavat who's living the books, he can twist your ear and chastise you and correct you as a loving, affectionate spiritual father. So we need that type of persons in our life, like a living guru, a living Shiksha Guru and living Diksha Guru. It's very clear. Is that all right? I am not speaking for or against what you spoke about or asked. I'm just saying this is a practical fact. Even I need association as a sannyasi, not only of my initiating spiritual master, but I need association of other sannyasis and other devotees. Like I need association of all of you, like in this nice Nectar of Instruction discussions we're having. I'm getting your association by you asking nice questions also. Is that all right, Vaishnav Kripa?
Maharaj, thank you very much, Maharaj.
You're really Kripa, you're giving mercy as a Vaishnav so that we can
thank you, Maharaj.
respond to you. Okay. All right. I want to move a little bit forward. Is that okay? There was one more question. Sorry.
Yes, Maharaj. By Prananath Prabhu.
Prananath, come onto the screen, but be careful for the echo of your sound. You should have fixed it by now.
Yes. Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandat Pranam. It was
Yeah.
relating
Nice.
to.
No echo.
Yes,
Tell me
that's
your
why I use the earplug. It was relating to the Ritvik philosophy only. What Prabhu
No,
had.
don't discuss that anymore.
No. I mean to say there are my friends.
There's them as your friends, but I don't want to discuss Ritvik philosophy.
No, not philosophy. Like, is it? What should I do in the sense, like to dealing with them?
You should not deal with them. You should just remain friends.
Okay.
Otherwise, you may become offensive.
Yes.
They are nice people, but you may become offensive, so just don't deal with it. I just explain on a practical level that we need Sangha.
Yes.
But we're not here to defeat anybody. We're just here to follow and keep friendship with everyone in the world, including
So
them.
in our movement, are they accepted? In our movement, in a passive way, are they accepted?
Prananath Prabhu, you're still trying to labor the question on this basis. See? You understand the point? Haribol? I'm not taking any more questions on this situation. See? And if you want to discuss further, then you speak to your local GBC. But we have to keep friendship with everyone in the world, what to speak of devotees who are practicing otherwise or not. Okay, Prananath Prabhu, I'm a little firm on this, I'm sorry. Prananath Prabhu, can you hear me? Haribol?
I think he's having some technical issue, Maharaj. You can't see his image nor his voice.
But he's there, he's on, right?
Yeah, he's there, but...
Okay, that's fine. So let's move along. Otherwise, that will take much of our time, just this one aspect of discussion, but that requires more time some other time. Okay, so let's get to slide number 57. Slide number 57. Okay. So now we're discussing the different types of devotees. Srila Prabhupada gives us in paragraph 1, in paragraph 2, and in paragraph 4 in the purport of explaining who is a Kanishta Adhikari, or a beginning devotee. The Kanishta Adhikari is a neophyte who has received the Harinam initiation from the spiritual master and is trying to chant the holy name of Krishna. One should respect such a person within his mind as a Kanishta Vaishnava. Now just focus on these words, trying to chant the holy name, for this paragraph. Then from paragraph 2, a person who is very faithfully engaged in the worship of the deity in the temple, but who does not know how to behave towards devotees or people in general, is called a Prakrita Bhakta or Kanishta Adhikari. Now, in the first one, you focus on trying to chant the holy name. In the second middle paragraph there, you focus on does not know how to behave towards devotees. Right? And in the third one from paragraph 4, those who are innocent but simply carried away by bad association should be shown favor if they are eager to receive proper instructions from pure devotees. So in other words, a Kanishta Adhikari, or beginning devotee, in other words, to be a beginning devotee is not a bad thing. Everyone begins. That is called Kanishta Adhikari. But in the last paragraph from 4, in paragraph 4, those words, should be shown favor. In other words, devotees who are more experienced and who are more realized should protect these Kanishta Adhikaris because they are innocent and they can also be carried away by bad association. So you put me back onto the screen. So this is a beginning devotee, a Kanishta Adhikari. And it's not something that's lower. It's something that everyone goes through in their life. In other words, one begins as a devotee, which is called Kanishta Adhikari. So that's an important aspect. And a Kanishta Adhikari may be having, some beginning challenges in practicing spiritual life. Although they may have taken the vow to chant minimum 16 rounds before and after initiation, which is said there, but they are trying to chant the holy name. Prabhupada says they are trying their best to chant. It may not be easy to chant minimum 16 rounds daily, but they are trying to chant. And Prabhupada gives them that benefit. So everyone goes through that period. Okay? And this Kanishta Adhikari, Prabhupada says in the second one, he may not be so well trained yet. In other words, it requires, even before or after initiation, he or she requires, more courses, more practical understanding of how to associate with devotees. So therefore, in those formative years of that Kanishta Adhikari or beginning devotee, Prabhupada says, or the verse directly says, from the Chaitanya Charitamrita and Srimad Bhagavatam, that such a person does not really know how to behave towards other devotees and even does not know how to behave towards people in general. So you'll get that type of devotees, but nevertheless, they are still devotees. But they're in the beginning stages and require more education and training to understand how to behave properly, in general, especially towards other devotees. And this kind of beginning devotee or Kanishta Adhikari, and that person's faith may be soft and pliable. In the beginning stages, even after initiation, one may have some doubts about Krishna consciousness. Is it really working for me? So therefore, that Kanishta Adhikari or beginning devotee must always take the association of advanced devotees. An advanced devotee should show favor to this type of beginning devotee by always being affectionate and taking care of them. That is very important, to take care of beginning stage devotees so that they do not become swayed because their faith is like soft and pliable. They may lose faith also in Krishna consciousness if they are not taken care of properly. All right, any questions on this definition of Kanishta Adhikari, which I, sort of accepted it from the purport for you by Srila Prabhupada. Beginning devotee. Anyone?
No one yet, Maharaj.
Okay. So my humble request is that do not remain a beginning devotee. Become serious and practice Krishna consciousness. And internally one will advance, but not externally one will make a show that one is advanced. That is very important. Okay, so let's get to slide number 58. So when one is making nice progress and is serious about one's practices, then one comes internally to the stage of a Madhyamadikari. And Prabhupada gives this definition of a Madhyamadikari in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, that he's a preacher devotee. He's not just a devotee, but he or she helps Srila Prabhupada in the mission of spreading Krishna consciousness. But after being fixed in one's own practices, that's important. Okay, so I'll read from paragraph 9, then paragraph 3, and a purport in Srimad Bhagavata. Okay. When one is actually initiated, so note, use the word is actually initiated, not just initiated. So the word actually is used by Srila Prabhupada. When one is actually initiated by the bona fide spiritual master, and when he seriously engages in the service of the Lord, he should be accepted as a Madhyamadikari. And in other words, I'll discuss this paragraph also later. Then the Madhyamadikari is a devotee who worships the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the highest object of love. He makes friends with the Lord's devotees, is merciful to the ignorant, and avoids those who are envious by nature. That means he makes discriminations on the basis of preaching. Okay. Then in the last paragraph, for practical advancement in Krishna consciousness, one should associate at least with a second-class devotee, which is called a Madhyamadikari. See? Madhyamadikari means a second-class devotee. Now I'm going to keep this on the screen and explain from there further so that it becomes clear. Okay. So the first one, there's a difference between being initiated and actually initiated. So Srila Prabhupada used to initiate so many disciples, like something like 4,000. But he initiated them with the hope that they may actually be initiated in the practices of Krishna consciousness after initiation. And Srila Prabhupada gave the examples of his own disciples who he gave sannyas to, or to speak of Harinam initiation and second initiation. He gave sannyas to young men in their 20s practically. He gave sannyas to one devotee who was 19 years of age, but he didn't maintain his sannyas after that, with the hope that they will maintain and preach Krishna consciousness. So what to speak of first initiates and second initiates? He also took risk in giving sannyas, that they may actually become sannyasi after the sannyas initiation. So it is important that when you are initiated, to actually follow being actually initiated thereafter. Otherwise, we may get like thousands of, tens of thousands of devotees who are initiated, but who don't feel actually initiated, and they only see the spiritual master as bona fide, the initiating spiritual master rather, when they come. Otherwise, the spiritual master is not bona fide when he leaves. Although there's always a bona fide spiritual master. In other words, they only get inspired when this initiating guru comes, but they should also be inspired seriously when the shiksha gurus are with them, or the spiritual mentors in the same community that they live in, and continue to be seriously engaged. So therefore, a beginning devotee maybe just be engaged, but a Madhyamadikari is seriously engaged, irrespective whether the initiating guru is present or not, because he follows the instructions of the spiritual master always, which is more important. In other words, it says Vapu and Vani. So Vani is more important than the physical presence of the spiritual master. So therefore, that type of person is seriously engaged all the time. Not that he does service just before the spiritual master comes and then leaves his service after the spiritual master leaves. Not like that. So a Madhya Madhikari or a preacher devotee is what we're all actually aspiring for, to be actually initiated. So that's the first part. And the second part of the Madhya Madhikari in the middle, which is coming from paragraph 3, like you notice that a beginning devotee does not know how to behave towards other devotees. But here, this type of devotee is friendly with all devotees, but he may have more intimate, close association with some devotees, but he's friends with all the devotees. And he's a preacher. And Prabhupada tells that in order to make advancement, we should associate with such preacher devotees to come to that point of Madhya Madhikari. Put me back onto the screen. Any questions about the Madhya Madhikari? Anyone?
No, Maharaj.
Sometimes they need some moments. Maybe considering some questions.
Okay, you're right, Maharaj. Anjana Gopika Mataji raised her hand.
Anjana,
Hare
Gopika,
Krishna, Hare Krishna Maharaj, Danat Pranam.
all glories to Prabhupada. Tell me.
Yes, Maharaj, you mentioned just before, means we should not be externally show up, but internally we have to develop the attitude to come in the Madhyama Adhikari. Can you elaborate a little bit more, Maharaj?
If you just put me back onto the screen, nice practical question she asked. You see, if you just restrict yourself, especially for devotees in the congregation, this is extremely important. If you just restrict yourself to just following the 4 regulative principles and chanting at least 16 rounds, if not more, and you just go to work every day, or you're a housewife every day, or you're a mother of the children every day, you have to do those things. That's clear. You have to be responsible to give basic food, clothing, and shelter to the family members and take care of the family members as a mother or a wife. That's clear. That one should do. One should not be irresponsible for that. However, everyone knows besides executing one's duties responsibly, as a father, as a mother, husband or wife, or son or daughter, and besides executing one's responsibilities responsibly at work as a businessman or at the office or going to study and so forth, you do that. Still, everyone has time. And what they utilize their time for? They may utilize their time, if they have, to watch television, read newspaper, maybe do some gossiping, with other devotees, about other devotee families or whatever. Don't do that. Preach. And preaching can be done in various ways. You distribute prasad, you distribute books, and you distribute the holy name. Now, if you don't preach, then your chanting of your japa will become a routine or mechanical. And if you don't preach, then you may commit offenses to other devotees. And if you don't preach, then you may still be struggling to chant at least your 16 rounds daily. So that is called the beginning stages. So don't be in the beginning stages of Krishna consciousness for one lifetime or few lifetimes. No, don't do that. So therefore, I put specifically the word preacher devotee for the Madhya Madhikari, because Prabhupada uses that word, intermediate devotee. And Prabhupada's glory and Prabhupada's mercy, you can attract more, not just by following the 4 regulative principles and chanting minimum 16 rounds, and just going to work, which is mechanical also. And being a wife can be like, a mother of the house can be like the same thing every day, cooking for them and so forth. It could be laborious and it could be boring. take some time off, even if it's once a week. And we have that time which we misuse or misspend in other ways. Like, how many family members, they love to do shopping for no reason. And even if they go to the shopping center and they don't buy anything, they'll spend hours there. It's just a boring thing. Rather, do the same thing. Go to the shopping center. Take some books with you. Prabhupada's books. Take some books with you and distribute those books. Or if somebody doesn't take a book, at least you're preaching to somebody even if they don't take a book. Like that. I'm just giving some examples. So Krishna consciousness should be joyful. Susukam kartam avyayam. And joy comes when we practice seriously and also make others become serious about Krishna consciousness by preaching to them. But that is most important for us, is to imbibe the heart of Srila Prabhupada. His heart and mood is to actually, liberate everyone, give Krishna consciousness to others. So when you become broad-hearted, you become a Mahatma, which we discussed in previous verses as in text number 1. So become that Mahatma, broad-hearted, not miserly, kripana, narrow-minded or narrow-hearted. So that will help us. But of course, at the same time, not at the expense of giving more time to distributing books and to distributing prasadam or distributing the holy name. Not at the same time that you should neglect your spiritual practices. Don't feel preaching is more important than my sadhana. Both are together. Both are together. And Prabhupada gives a nice example. Prabhupada said it's like a train going on 2 tracks. 2 tracks. If you neglect one of the tracks and give more importance to the other, then the train can become derailed. So both are the same, both are there on 2 tracks and both are important. Is to practice Krishna consciousness seriously and to also preach Krishna consciousness through book distribution, prasadam distribution, and chanting the holy name. Anjana Gopika?
Yes, Maharaj. Maharaj, I have one question regarding Kanishta Adhikari's explanation before that, Maharaj. Can I ask?
Someone?
Okay. Maharaj, sometimes devotee who have very soft faith, means they may go from the temple because after seeing some kind of behavior, even though I had that experience with my seniors, means who brought us in Krishna consciousness.
Hold on a second. You don't mention any names. You rephrase your question. We have to respect everyone's absence.
Oh, okay.
So say what if? Say what if? Is the word? Say what if?
If just like if we how we should be careful not to distract, means not to their faith, maybe they will not go away because of us. How we should behave, or what is the way we can behave to the very beginning person, Maharaj?
The beginning persons, you can put me back on the beginning persons who we are preaching to, if they leave Krishna consciousness due to their faith is soft and pliable and not fixed in Krishna consciousness, they may leave for various reasons, which may not be your doing or fault. We okay so far? However, we should also know that we should be very careful of how to deal with the beginning devotees like Kanishta Adhikaris so that they will not leave. They will not leave. So if somebody that you were trying to preach to leaves Krishna consciousness, don't blame them. You look inside yourself of what did you do that they had to leave. And when you come to that conclusion that you may have did something that put them off and left, then go back and apologize to them and bring them back. So apology means, please beg forgiveness. And that's actually a devotee. A devotee means is always humble. See, so what, it's a small price to pay to say that I am sorry or please forgive me, to bring them back to Krishna. It's a very small price to pay to bring them back to Krishna. So we should not let our own false ego dictate to us. Okay, I preached to them, but it's gone, so what can be done? No. But maybe you may have, maybe one may themselves have behaved in a way for that person to leave. So we should also look at that. Is it okay, Anjana Gopika?
Maharaj, not that. I have a friend who help us to come in Krishna consciousness.
Gopika, you are breaking the norm.
Uh,
You are breaking the norm. You are referring to people. I told you don't do that.
yeah, yes. No. How can I help them, our friend who are not going?
Hold on, Anjana Gopika, please listen to me.
Okay.
We have to respect people in their absence. If you want to ask a question, you cannot say, I have a friend or this and that. You cannot do that. You should say, what if, and speak in the future tense.
Okay. 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 What if they are, yeah, I understand how because of me, but
Okay.
if
Anjana Gopika, listen carefully. You think about what I told you to do and you ask your question tomorrow. Is that okay?
yes, Maharaj, yes.
Then you must rephrase it by, we are speaking about issues of behavior. We're not speaking about people.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
You got to speak in your first in your first person, or you can say what if, as if it's going to happen in the future. We respect everyone in the absence. Are we clear?
Yes, yes, Maharaj. I really like that point. We respect in there.
Tomorrow you ask the question.
Yes, sure, Maharaj, sure.
Okay. So now we get to slide 59, which I will continue with tomorrow, but I'm just going to read the slide. 59. We have a few minutes. But I'm not taking questions after this because it's a very important discussion which I can discuss further tomorrow. Okay. So I'm just reading the middle paragraph for paragraph 5, the middle excerpt from paragraph 5. Srila Prabhupada says, out of many such Vaishnavas, one may be found to be very seriously engaged in the service of the Lord and strictly following all the regulative principles, chanting the prescribed number of rounds on japa beads, and always thinking of how to expand the Krishna consciousness movement. Such a Vaishnav should be accepted as an Uttama Adhikari, a highly advanced devotee, and his association should always be sought. Now I'm keeping this on the screen and then I'll conclude like that for today, because we're coming about the time for the conclusion. Yeah. Now, this does not talk about an initiating guru or a sannyasi or a shiksha guru. It does not refer to devotees who are in that category of a shiksha guru, sannyasi, brahmana, or initiating guru. Anyone can be this person. Now, you should consider, I'm reading again, very seriously engaged in the service of the Lord, strictly following all the regulative principles, chanting the prescribed number of rounds on japa beads, and always thinking of how to expand the Krishna consciousness. That is a preacher. If you just take these aspects, you'll find that Srila Prabhupada has produced so many Uttama Adhikaris in our movement, in ISKCON. Not kept it for himself, has produced so many. So wherever you are situated in that community of devotees, whether it's in Toronto, whether it's in Delhi, or whether it's in Mumbai, or Kuala Lumpur, or Penang, you can remember that you have these type of devotees in your own community who are very seriously engaged, who are following all the regulative principles, who are chanting their rounds nicely on japa beads, and they're preaching, always thinking how to expand Krishna consciousness. You'll find such devotees in your midst. Recognize them. Don't only recognize your initiating guru as an Uttama Adhikari, or don't only recognize a sannyasi, or don't recognize your shiksha gurus. There's others also. There may be also Matajis who are doing this, ladies, who are doing this, women. There may be even younger devotees who joined after you, maybe so strictly doing this. So they are considered that. It's such a wonderful explanation Srila Prabhupada has given us of the Uttama Adhikari. Put me back onto the screen. So therefore, an Uttama Adhikari is not just a preacher. An Uttama Adhikari is an experienced preacher. Experienced preacher, because through experience, an Uttama Adhikari gets realization. So we'll continue with this discussion tomorrow, and we'll bring it to a nice close. It may take another full session tomorrow, this text number 5. Many devotees in the world, when I did this course, Nectar of Instruction, we spent the most time on text number 5 for its practical understanding based on so many questions that are being asked. And I did appreciate all of your nice questions today, including Anjana Gopika Mataji, and she has more questions to ask tomorrow. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki,
Jai.
Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki,
Jai.
Rupa Goswami
Jai.
Jai. Jai Guru Maharaj.
Jai.
Jai Maharaj.